Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? How are you all this evening? I got some feedback here. Let me figure this out. There we go. There we've got it. Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? It is Thursday, March 28th, 2024. Welcome back to the tip of the spear of fighting against the insanity, fighting for humanity in the craziest of times. And we've been doing this now since 2019. And we are proud to be a part of this with you guys, but we're not doing this for you. We're doing this with you. So wherever you guys are tuning in from, if you're new here, welcome to the front line of the fight for humanity. Please smash that like and subscribe button. And if you're not new here, you know what to do. Give this a share on all of your favorite platforms. And I've got a couple of real quick updates that I want to make everybody aware of. First of all, critical update coming up here, guys. You guys have all heard about Bill C-63 and the penalties involved with this. I've been putting out some feelers to see where people are at. Is this just censorship that is making us difficult to find, or are people not interested? And the overwhelming response, as I kind of suspected, is this is mostly because of censorship. People are not getting notified. They're not. We are being buried if we're being allowed to be seen at all. So before I go to the gulag for life for whatever I post on social media, we are encouraging people to take evasive maneuvers now. And over the next period of time, what's going to happen is I'm going to stop streaming live to these free communist fascist platforms, and what you're seeing here on the screen is going to be where you will find the rest of the community, because the entire community is going to be moving to these platforms that is going to be able to allow us to speak freely and in trust and with security in mind for you, the user, first and foremost. So that's a really big deal coming up. So get on over, guys. Some of these platforms are going to be more expensive for us to maintain. There's going to be still a certain amount of most of it's going to be free, but there's going to be stuff that we just cannot put out for free because it's going to cost to access it. But those ones there, you will still be able to find us free, and these are going to be trusted partners. Pay a special attention to lgm.news. We will redefine expectations and what is available for people to deliver and share and communicate new news and what is important. So now, if you've been following for a while, you know that we are all about not just red pilling people, but looking at solutions oriented things that work, people that bringing people to you that have an expertise, knowledge, or particular skill sets, the visionaries, the leaders. And we are very, very proud tonight to bring Magie Braun, who have been watching for some time, not just take the beast on, head on, but having some success in creating solutions and templates. So Magie, warrior, visionary, welcome to the show here tonight. I'm hoping that we get to give people some tools that they can work with, some understanding, some recognition. We were talking briefly before the show about know thine enemy. You know what's going on out there, and you have a kind of a unique perspective on all of this, given your life experience leading up to the convoy in 2022. Time is flying here, I think it was. But thanks, Magie, for joining us, and give us, the folks out there that aren't aware of you yet, a little bit of your background so they can understand a little bit of your expertise in what we're talking about.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's great to be with you tonight, Wayne, and for your audience. And I'm just a Canadian mom. I was born in Canada. I traveled with my parents and lived in a jungle village when I was younger in Papua New Guinea. And really, I think that helped me to learn a little bit about how to read people and connect with people because of the language barriers, and to see communities really in action and supporting each other, and dealing with conflict with their fellow tribes beside them. How is my video?
You look great. It's blurred behind you. I think that's what the what you were looking for. So it seems good here.
Okay, it seems cutting out on me, but that's good. So growing up, I took an interest in the environment, went to school for ecosystem management, which gave me a broad range of subjects in earth sciences, and really went from truly believing that climate change was an existential threat to my last project being a persuasive speech on the natural factors that drive climate change, and moving on after that to buying a home and having children, and noticing that the United Nations and international organizations were not stopping, and they were kicking the real scientists out of their conferences, and not letting them share their research, and then seeing the legislation that resulted from that, and how they were really targeting our sovereignty and our rights, and and our future here in Canada. So that was a concern, especially having children, to see that coming down the pipeline. And just started getting involved in municipal public consultation from about 2009 onward, and really pushing back on the sustainable development agenda.
Oh, wow.
And so on.
And that's the thing that I want to touch on or focus on here for just a second. You got educated enough to recognize the bullshit from reality, and that became a foundation for you to recognize the gobbledygook and word salad that they were implementing, and you were seeing it coming in. And it gives me tingles to hear you connect it right away to the United Nations, and because there's going to be a lot of things here that our community is going to recognize as more articulately described than what I've been screaming. But I've been screaming from the mountaintops that all of this stuff comes from Geneva. All of this policy, all of this, I call it eco-terrorism at this point. Being aware of our environment is one thing, but Patrick Moore said it best. Once they'd cleaned up all of the worst tragedies, it was nothing but a business. And this was a business for them to create an existential threat and create a way for them to take over our communities, our country, our nation. And again, back to the thing that I've been screaming the most is municipalities were the intervention point. So when I was seeing you going to work, connecting exactly those dots, the municipality approach and identifying it there, exposing it there. And so give folks, tell people where you're at and the exact municipality that you're putting up this stand in.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on, and you're exactly right. The official plans that are taking place in our municipalities and the strategic plans are, for the most part, implementing Agenda 21. And what we found is that after Brian Mulroney signed Canada on to Agenda 21, they sent a municipal primer to all Canadian municipalities outlining a blueprint for achieving sustainable development, and even right down to a flow chart of how Agenda 21 would be implemented through Canadian municipalities. And if we look at their means of implementation, they've created programs through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to implement Agenda 21. And we've identified these programs and found that they are voluntary, and that the government and the Federation of Municipalities has waived liability for the implementation and endorsement of the programs. And now we have a lot of information that we can go in and share with our community and with our councils, and
This is
help them.
this is a critical point. I think that I think is right now important for us to make. So excuse my interruption. We've got a little bit of a probably looks like a Wi-Fi lag or internet lag between us. So forgive me for any stumbling, but I've got a 1.5-minute clip that I'm going to play. And I think this is important for people to understand the time frame that you're talking about and the impact that this needs to make going into the next election, because we are, I'm not being melodramatic when I say that we're in the fight for humanity in our country right now. And it's specifically because of the perception of elections and the parties that we think are representing our best interest and where some of this comes from. So if you guys can bear with me, and I hope this works, I'm going to pull up this clip and we'll let this play here for a second. Somebody give me a thumbs up in the audience. Make sure if we can hear this.
I can't hear it.
Can't hear it. I'm wondering if the audience can. Okay, now there's something going on here with my dashboard or the operator behind it. But I guess I kind of paused it at just the perfect time there for that. Maggie, tell us the document that you're referring to.
So this is a 40-page document. It's called the Municipal Primer. You can find it on my website there. And maybe Mark, you can put that in the comments for everyone. Oh, he has already.
Yeah,
great. So that's basically a blueprint for achieving Agenda 21. And in it, it shows that Agenda 21, even though it was signed at the international level and is being funded at the national level with our tax dollars, along with money from ICLEI, the International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives, it is being implemented at the local level. And of course, they have to do that here in Canada. We are a very vast nation, and the only way to take over all of the land and move us into settlement areas, as the Municipal Primer states it, they have to get into our municipalities' official plans and strategic plans, and that's what the Municipal Primer outlines, as well as the transfer of environmentally sound technology. And of course, that's where the green energy companies are making a killing off of us at the local level, because these programs, specifically the Partners for Climate Protection program, is the one that we're focusing on right now. Because basically, once our municipalities voluntarily adopt this program, and most of the times it seems our councillors are tricked into it, they're not given the full details about what this program will do and the full effect, and they will begin to calculate how much energy consumption we are using from all sources and how much waste we are producing. And then they put that calculation into ICLEI's software and set reduction targets to 45% by 2030 and 100% by 2050. So when we talk about net zero, that's not just a phrase that they're throwing around. They are literally aiming for net zero by 2050. And this software will basically spit out action items to be included in the strategic plans. And every year they'll creep closer and closer to that goal. So that is, after 30 years, why we are seeing a lot of the hardships in our country and why so many people have been forced to sell their rural properties or move into the cities. And now there's housing crisis, a housing crisis happening all across the country. And many of our hardships are coming from this net zero plan.
Okay, and now just to catch people up here a little bit, I've got your Substack on the screen there. I've added it; it's in the chat. You've got somebody else adding into the chat there too. This is critical information, guys, to be able to get plugged into, not just today, but in the future moving forward. And this is what Maggie's Substack looks like. Look for the image, look for this blueprint, and we're gonna dive into a little bit more of that, but. Now, you mentioned this ICLEI organization. This is where I'm going to pull up a couple of different things here to lead people into that, and you can explain to them what that is a little bit. So I'm going to start here with this C40.org organization, which is a universal again, globalist funded entity that is organizing and collaborating and bringing together exactly the companies and the organizations and the initiatives. And this is some of them right here. ICLEI being a cornerstone of their networking partners. And if you look there, you'll also see the Global Covenant of Mayors. And so this is, I'm going to be sharing a bunch of quick links here successively, but again, you'll find all of the links you can access, do your own research. You'll find that later on tonight or tomorrow on my Substack. There's no way I'll be able to effectively share everybody that's watching here tonight, but you'll find it on my Substack. So if there is no better reason to get over there and get subscribed, that is it. So there's a bunch. Now, these organizations are the ones that people need to know what they are doing. Why? Because they drive the organizations like 350.org, which is the grassroots liberal funded, globalist funded organization that come out and bring together the social outrage at how dare we identify this as being a problem in our community. All of the squealers and screamers are organized through these organizations like 350.org, but it's even more diabolical than that. And there's another one here that I'm going to pull up. This one might surprise people.
Can I jump in there?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm pulling another one up here for sure.
On 350.org. So last year, when there was all the strange fires early in the season, that was when we first did our very first deputation here in Peterborough. And a couple days later, they had a protest outside of Michelle Ferrari, our MP's office. And I happened to be there. And that was the first time I heard about 350.org. And when I looked it up, I thought, oh my goodness, they have chapters all across the country. They're calling for 100% renewables and zero fossil fuel by 2050. And,
so, I broke into these guys about a year ago, and I came across these guys because what I saw was policy adoption through in Alberta specifically. That it was one bad smell that I started to follow and pull the threads on, and it turned out that there had been a proposal by the federal government put out, and there was a short time frame of the public to respond. It was never made and put out to the public, but instead the time frame lapsed until it was adopted, and it was only NDP and 350.org people that had been advised of this policy. So all of a sudden the federal government goes, yep, we got enough signatures, the people want this, we're making this policy, and it was absolutely corrupted and completely done in-house, and this is why these NGOs, nonprofits, and public-private partnerships with these kinds of groups, so that we never even hear what they're adopting in policy. They just tell us, oh, well, the people wanted this, they voted for this, we are representing, but there is absolutely no representation done by it. And this is done in collusion, yes, criminal collusion, if you and by my opinion, with these strong mayors programs. And if people want to do this for themselves, when they get through the links, go and look in Canada. I'm doing this real time for everybody out there to see that there are 63 cities in Canada whose mayors have adopted the Strong Mayors program by having sworn an oath to the Strong Mayors Coven, which is one of those Forum of Mayors programs straight out of Geneva, Switzerland. So
Yes.
I just kind of wanted to speed roll through some of the multiple connections that are creating this insanity that comes down to fooling the people, John Q. Public, and temporarily elected representatives alike, and they've been doing it for decades. And this is being done through an avenue that you fully understand. And this is why I believe you're having so much success with this in your stand up against this, because you understand the gobbledygook and make the word salad make sense. So this is my take from what I've been digging up for the last year. Am I far off on anything there, Maggie?
No, not at all. I think we can actually learn a lot from these organizations. You know, the fact that they have a membership and they can just pool those members and have hundreds of thousands of signatures go down overnight, right? That is powerful. And what we are seeing is our side has been a little bit divided and fractured, and a lot of independent people working all across the country and the nations. And when we look at ICLEI, its mission statement, and where it explains what it is, it says that it's a network of members and experts who are working together through peer exchange and partnership to create systematic change. So that is the strategy that they are playing. So how important is it for us to also pull together the people on this side, our members, our experts, and start working together and forming partnerships and professionalizing. And the convoy and the COVID chaos really brought a lot of great people together. So I think we have the potential to push back at this point. And that's what we're seeing. People are coming together and they're talking about the solutions to the problems. And of course, that's leading to us to look at the local municipalities. And of course, when we can figure out how to make effective change at the local level, then we are effectively pushing back on Agenda 21. And we can do that all across the country. We don't need to be able to drive to Ottawa to make our stand. We can do it at our local town hall. And we're creating tools so people can do what we've utilize the research and the examples that we've been able to set at various municipalities here in Ontario and already across Canada. This has been happening. So the tools are developing and people are able to now take this into their communities, gather and garner support and signatures for our recommendations to council. So when we go in, we're not just speaking for ourselves, we are speaking for hundreds of people from our community. And that number will just get bigger and bigger as we create public awareness around these programs. Most people don't know that they exist, but they have a map and you can see your municipality on it or on the list beside it. And you can read their 5 milestones and how they're going about this. And they are truly aiming for net zero energy consumption and waste by 2050. So pretty scary.
It really is, and we're going to get into a little bit more specifics on your program and what you've put together here in a minute. I've just got one last thing here, that going back to the what I consider is basically treason by our elected officials in office, when
Yes.
they're swearing an oath to guys like these guys in faraway lands and unelected entities. I think that we've got a serious problem here. So this is another one. This is a PDF file that I'm going to include in the supplemental uh, material with this for this show. And I really want people to take the time to read through these, because so much of what these organizations and documents like
See?
this do is cut, copy, paste, and reproduce within your community websites and platforms. You will see the verbiage, the vernacular, the words that they use, and that's important, so that you can help recognize, and it really makes the radar go up on the back of your neck really, really quickly. So there's going to be so much moving forward here with this. And so now I'm going to get over to, and I'm going to pull up your Substack, Maggie, here again, and let you start. We'll start with the history. We'll give people a little bit of a history lesson, and then we'll get to the meat and potatoes of what you're doing to resist ickling.
I'm sorry, it's so choppy on my end. I don't normally have this problem.
It could be my end. I am one of those special people that they do everything that they can possible to make the stream unwatchable. So
Okay.
probably from my end here, but once you get started, it's probably going to be all right. So I just wanted
Okay.
to bring up a couple of posts on your Substack, so that you can kind of talk people through a little bit more in depth through what Kickly is, and then we'll get into your PDF post, I think, and you can, whatever people need to know right now, other than getting to Substack and get this for themselves, tell people why.
Yeah, so you've pulled up the history of Kickly here, and you can see we've taken the ICLY symbol and we've created Kickly because we want to kick the International Council out of our local environmental initiatives. And the best way to do that is to start paying attention to what's happening at our local town halls. And last year, I pulled up their environmental reports, and I found references to ICLY and grants that they were receiving from ICLY and invitations to special networking events done by ICLY, and looking at how they were going to reduce our travel patterns. And really, they stated that they would target our mobility, and how wonderful COVID was because it modified our travel patterns. So when we start looking at the reports coming out of our local councils, we can find a lot of items to speak to and to go in on, because they do like it when you speak to an agenda item. So that's exactly what we did. We went in, John Dunn addressed the science of climate change, and he did a great job, very professional speaker. And I brought forward information on how the United Nations was working through local municipalities, through organizations like ICLY, and the municipal primer, and I shared that with them, and how their environmental committee reports really seem to be going against our mobility rights and our sovereignty here in Canada. And that video went viral, and Justin Trudeau flew into Peterborough and met our mayor and city CAO, that's the chief administrative officer, and the local council mainstream news reporter, and from there we knew we were on to something. We hit a soft spot because Peterborough is really a test city here in Ontario, maybe even for all of Canada. it's known in marketing textbooks as a place where they beta test everything. So if we were able to make a dent in the minds and of the local counselors and the people, that's a big start. And that really is the beginning, is to start having an influence on those who are making policy in our towns. And then it got the word out, and Peterborough County is made up of several townships, rural townships around Peterborough, and they were passing an official plan that was targeting their population growth and their property rights, and making it so they would not be able to sever their land in the future, which means that many of the property owners would eventually have to sell if they fall on hard times or want to pay for their retirement or give a piece of land to their family. It really stagnates the growth in rural municipalities. So we went in and did our second deputation there, and all of the councillors agreed with us, and they ended up putting forward a motion to defer the plan. And when this mayor and council went the next day to meet with all the mayors and councillors of the county, Peterborough County, their courage in speaking up also inspired the other mayors in the county to speak up about what they didn't like about the plan. So our courage in speaking the truth and doing it professionally, and we brought 65 people, filled that chamber that is not used to seeing more than three residents sitting there at most. We filled the chamber, we spoke the truth. They agreed with us, and it went upward from there. So that official plan is still deferred. And just a couple weeks ago, we also deferred the strategic plan, now that we have more information on the Partners for Climate Protection program, and we can show them exactly the day and the wording of the motion that started to bring all of this in. And the way it works in councils, it's Robert's Rules of Order. And when they adopt a motion, it becomes the foundation in some cases, in this case anyway, and that became the foundation of their official plans and their strategic plans and their healthy environment plans and their rainbow sidewalk plans, right? So in order to pull the rug out from under it, we need to find that exact wording of that original motion and show them how this is affecting their residents and how it's costing them a lot of money and it's not necessary, and get them to reconsider that original motion, and that will pull that tentacle of the United Nations out, and then we'll go after any other ones that the Federation of Canadian Municipalities is putting forward. So that's the strategy, and it seems to be working.
I am just grinning from ear to ear with excitement, because
yes,
you've done something, and quite honestly, 99% of us wouldn't have been able to, because we wouldn't have been able to interpret and decipher what is an entirely different language when it comes to speaking in the language that they understand. And this is why so many of our communities get crushed under their, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. It's because there is a complete wall of communication. We are not addressing things that they understand, so they can't speak to it. And 99% of the time, these people are incumbents. They've been following the flow because they didn't know any better when they got there, and they don't know any better now. But it's been going this way for so long that they don't know any different. So the instant they're challenged to look at something, if it's not in a language that they can interpret and understand, it's going to meet with hostility every single time. And I've seen that play out time and time and time and time again, because they're speaking two different languages, trying to address two completely different things in doing so. But what you've done here is you've connected it in such a way that people can go back anywhere in this country, and I challenge, doesn't matter, and probably in America as well, you will find ICLEI and some vestige of it in your community. This is the transfer point of the cancer within our communities. And as you guys have shown, is once the council finally understands you're not tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists and you've got more credentials to the subject matter at hand, you're seeing a turn.
Yes, we are. We are. The ICLEI is all across the globe. When Agenda 21 began, I think 178 nations signed on, and they are doing the same thing in every country. So I know you have viewers all across the world, and if you look into what programs is your federal government funding at the local level, it'll likely be sustainable development programs. And the trick is and these programs are completely voluntary. So they're putting the liability on the local counselors who, like you said, many of them are new. Many of them don't fully understand how even the council works, and they require help from the city staff to navigate just the council meeting at first, right? So they kind of come into this bureaucracy, and in many cases, your municipalities have signed up anywhere between now and 1994. So this is kind of the MO of the council, and they don't realize that they can bring that motion forward and opt out of the program. And we're pointing out that it takes, for Peterborough with 80,000 people, it takes the city staff over 300 hours to complete the annual report for this voluntary program. That's a lot of time being spent. And then all the action items come with small, medium, and high cost expenditures on green technology and all of these things, right? And it's been going on for a long time. So I see the comment 1992. Yes, in Canada here, these programs started in 1994. So it took them a couple of years to get organized. And
who started all of that parade? Who was our prime minister in 1991, 1992?
Brian Mulroney.
Well, and who did he come in right behind? Pierre Trudeau.
Yes.
So this was, the thing that people need to understand why there is not a political solution to globalism. It has to be a municipal solution to globalism, because all the guys in the federal government do is present the Geneva suggestion, and it's by willing opt-in. But this is where it gets dirty and sketchy and shady. They create these organizations and go and have these little closed meeting voting sessions and pretend that, people like you, Maggie, and myself and the rest of us out there that are just starting to figure it out, and this is how it's been happening for decades to get to where we're at here now. And you've been able to undo it in a very short period of time. So don't be discouraged, be encouraged.
Yes, and we haven't had our full win, but we are making progress. And I think that that's something to point out too. We've been so apathetic, and we've left these local councils in charge, and we haven't been paying attention that when someone goes in and they just start doing effective deputations and have any win at all, any win on our side is seen as such such a win, right? But what we can really do with this information is redirect our energy to where we will start having wins all across the world, and bring the people back into their town halls, learn how to do professional deputations, leave our feelings and emotions out of it, and bring in the facts and bring in the stories of how this is affecting the community, and really start to influence the policymakers. And if you scroll down on the primer, you might want to click on that one there.
Yeah, I have to open it up. There we
There we
go.
go. You scroll right down, there's a picture of Justin Trudeau speaking at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities.
Didn't he just
And
do that again this past week and
he does.
put his foot in his
There he
mouth?
is.
There it is.
There he is. So every year he speaks there, and you notice the slogan. It says local action, national results. So they know the importance of our local councils. And this is where we truly have the most,
This is why
yeah,
Trudeau talks to the mayors instead of talking to the premiers.
yes,
He goes to a province. This is
yes.
exactly why he does that. Before this question gets scrolled too far up the screen there. Oh, no, that's not the one I wanted to pull up. This is the one I wanted you to touch on here. Their township, wherever this might be, is at stage 4. And my opinion is, yes, there is still a way out, because it was municipal implementation. If they can get educated, they can be municipally de-implemented as well. So don't give up, get educated, and my opinion is that it's never too late.
That's my opinion as well. For instance, in Peterborough, they're also at stage 4 in the city here. And after they got to stage 4, they declared a climate emergency. So they're just going to keep going with this until they've put all the people into the cities and done the 15-minute cities. And on the PCP website, you can, again, look at the 5 milestones, and there's workbooks for each one. And you can see when you get to milestone 5 that that's really where the 15-minute city starts to come in. So go ahead.
I need to tell people this, because there's no Marvel comic book universe. It's going to take work, take a responsibility, and it's not going to happen. There's no easy button. There's no magic button. But what we have here is a system that is what Maggie has put together, that you guys, if you go through the work, do the work, there is going to be results out of it, because it makes it undeniable, and they have to address it because it's in a language that makes it so that they have to address it. Am I right there?
Yes, you are. And what I'm going to be releasing tomorrow is a really professionally done video where it's basically a public service announcement to all Canadian municipalities. And this video can be sent to your local councillors. It can be shown in local town hall meetings where you gather community together and educate them on what is happening. And we're also putting that together with a letter of support. So this will all be included in the Kickley primer, will be updated by tomorrow here, with even more tools that you can gather together, because it really will help more if we can go in and show that we're speaking on behalf of a couple hundred people in our communities. So we're going to make that as easy as possible for people to do that. These are all the rules of the game when it comes to tactical civics, right? We need to dress professionally. We need to speak well. We need to keep it short. We need to keep it, our recommendations clear. We need to be as helpful as possible to the councillors that are looking to do the right thing. So for instance, in Thorold, in Niagara, the councillors there didn't want this program, and they reached out for support. And we went in and we did delegations, and we learned a lot, because now we have an entire playlist up on the Gather 2030 YouTube channel of how exactly this program comes into a municipality, or tries to, and the way that the staff and bureaucrats sell this to our councillors to get them to adopt it, and their lack of transparency about the program. And then we will come in. Now we have 3 months to prepare for our next big push in Thorold, and we will do the report for them just like their city staff would. We will put together all the answers to the questions that they aren't getting the answers to, And I truly believe we're going to go back in myself with that report for a delegation and bring one of the best climate scientists on our side to do a delegation, and his counterpart, who is an economist on this subject. And the three of us together will, along with some residents who don't want the program, will stop this program from being implemented in that municipality. And it's going to set an example for the rest of the country. So I'm really looking forward to that, and appreciate people like you getting the word out, because it's a lot of work just doing the research and trying to share. So the more people that can share that work, the better.
Well, that's a big part of it, and this is why we ultimately end up in this situation, because some $18.50 an hour clerk is not going to read through 700 pages of a climate policy recommendation when the mayor says, "Oh yeah, well it comes from these guys. This is regular. This is so the work does not get done, and it moves forward." They get the permissions that they need through the signatures that they need manifested through the 350.orgs and the nonprofits and NGOs. And this is how bit by bit by bit by bit, all of these things keep getting implemented and most of them are so incremental up until recently that it hasn't really gotten people's attention. But this is definitely we're in a different time here right now, and people are becoming acutely aware of these encroachments, and they're looking for something that makes sense to be able to help them, empower them, give them the tools. And this is where, as a community, this is necessary. It's going to take one individual the same amount of thousands of hours to understand one of these things, whereas if we take responsibility for our community, get educated, everybody is succinct and using accurate wording and vernacular to approach the situation, that's $18.50 an hour clerk is not going to oppose you, and neither will the mayor or the council that realizes he has to live with all of these now people that are far more educated on the actual subject matter than he probably was. So that will give them reason to pause, and I think that is a critical part of all of this. And this is where it's going to take, not one person can probably understand everything that you've put together here, Maggie. So this is why I put in the show notes for people to bring their support teams and their notepads and pens and papers and get to work on this, because this is ultimately what is going to have effect, far more so than going down and screaming at an empty town hall on a Saturday afternoon. So this is to me so encouraging, but that was a long way around getting to that. This is a living document, and explain to us what you mean by that, because I've heard you say that a couple of times in some of the things that you've said here now, and I really want you to drive that point home on this.
That's how it all started. We were outside our town hall on a Saturday screaming at the empty building. So, all things
starts, but that's not good. The be all end all, that is not the solution. That was a great point for people to get together. And if you're going to go to the town hall and scream about it now you can go down there and scream about it informed.
Yes. And like I said, we're putting together these packages. This is a document that is always being revised. It really pulled together the work that we've done up until this point. There's delegation archives. There's a link to the Friday night Zoom meeting. And if you go back up, there's a script for the points that I've used in delegations, probably about 15 minutes worth of speaking points. There's a Google slideshow that you can take and adapt and bring into your municipality. There's a code of conduct. What seems to work best is if we bring a lot of people, but we remain very calm. The presence of a lot of people that are sitting there professionally, keeping their cool and calm shifts the psychology of the room, and the counselors very much those who are on our side very much appreciate when we show up like that, because they're oftentimes sitting there, feeling alone in their views on these subjects. So this again gives them the courage to speak up and to have a real debate about these issues. So there's
Well, for the most part, and I've seen this happen so many times too. People that are in these offices, in these positions, in these management buildings, they'll go. All of a sudden, something goes on, and there's more people in their room than they've seen in their entire career combined. And it's
yes.
all and it to them, and they're very intimidated. And there's no cause to be, but that's just human nature, and we can't get past that expression. So that I think that's so important. What you speak to there is the decorum. We've got to maintain the decorum. This is negotiations are done through a decorum and understanding and discussion and dialogue, and that's the approach we have to take. Is this is the beginning of a negotiation. If you want to be noisy and rowdy, go outside on Saturday afternoon.
Yes, and really even that first step, that first delegation and bringing the people and doing your best, even if you don't get the outcome that you're looking for, you've established a certain amount of respect with the counselors, and they realize that you and your group have the ability to pull physical people into the building. and I don't know, I learned in civics class at one point that when there's an issue and somebody in the government receives a phone call, they count that as 10 people in the community concerned with the issue. If somebody writes a letter, they count that as 100 people concerned.
You just kind of dated yourself there, Maggie. Civics class. What's that? Where does that happen? Because that isn't in Canada, at least anymore. But you're so correct on that, 100%.
Yes, that's probably my mother more than civics class that taught me that. But if one person shows up in person, that is counted as about 1,000 people interested in that subject. So we very much need to recognize the importance of showing up, right? And there are so many things that we haven't done to make our side of the team more effective. We're looking at a scattered team of people running around with a lot of information who haven't learned some of the basics on how we can be more effective together. So part of Gather 2030, and I'd like to go back in and redo some of these articles, but the power of a press release, right? When we do events and of
oh, we're going to talk again on that note real soon. That's for just a secret hint on lgm.news. There's something special coming. Carry on.
Yes. But yeah, the solution to globalism is localism. So let me just look at my notes here too.
Yeah, we're getting down here. I've almost had you for an hour. I could probably talk to you for 2 or 3, but I want to be respectful of your time and everybody else's out there. I know people will be tuning out here for other programs in a few minutes. So the things that the key points that people you think needs to get out of this right now before we get you back for an update on some of these other things, and I'll probably call on you to do some other types of things, perhaps maybe than just to show more in the education kind of things, because this is a lot for people to digest in one program, and we've provided so much more. But what are the key points you think people need to take away tonight?
Yeah, that there's a lot that we can do. We haven't in any way exhausted our options on how we can push back on the global agenda. In fact, I would say that we haven't even scratched the surface of our potential, especially after the COVID chaos kind of brought us all together. I'm in my community alone. There are people who literally were running huge companies and are now doing podcasts. They lost their job. So the professionalism potential in our movement, it's really time for us to step up, those of us that have shown that we have integrity, and start to utilize our skills and come together and work on these projects so we can create the tools that the people need to get into their hands across Canada so that they can educate themselves and go in and start to make an impact. And every town hall represents a geographical area, and that is a piece of the board that we want to protect from this agenda. And every piece matters. So if everyone could just focus on protecting and getting back that piece, then we can all and share those wins and share what we learn through it. Then we will, in a sense, retake the country that way. And the majority of Canada is rural, small municipalities that don't benefit at all from this program. And the councillors in those municipalities are likely just waiting for you to show up and to let them know these programs exist and what their agenda truly is. And when we bring the facts forward and we're reasonable, then you're in a room with another person, a man and a woman is right there in front of you, and you have the power to influence those people and influence your community too. So this is something that affects people both on the left and the right. You better believe that the Liberals own farms and rural property, and they would like to be able to sever that and give that to their family too, and not be forced to sell their homes that have been in their families for generations. This is something that they're not for amalgamation of all the townships into the cities. So this is something we can really get into our communities with, form connections again, and bring back the Canadian spirit. And
so much wisdom in that final statement there, Maggie. You're 100% correct. This owning nothing and being unhappy is a nonpartisan problem, and it's only going to be resolved by us. And we're in a time where they are forcing us to choose revolution or renaissance. I would way rather go for renaissance than revolution. And I 100% agree. We have only just begun to use the tools available to us in the toolbox. And it's understandable the emotional responses that Canadians have had over the last couple of years in becoming aware and awake to all of this, but and not to tell people to not go out and engage in protest, but also then take that energy and invest it in projects that are meaningful. And there are this is just one of those that is so critical to being something that anybody can take part in and understanding and helping educate, because this is where it takes place. We win or lose the country at the municipal level. And you're right, most of it is rural, and that's where it's going to take the working class folks to realize that silence is no longer an option. Getting reasonably educated is something that they can do, and then get involved. So thank you so much, Maggie, for so much effort and time and work that you have put in and continue to do. And I hope you'll come back and keep us posted on events. And that press release is something we do that now. So others out there, take notes. There's a lot more of that kind of collaboration and organization and tools getting shined up and brought to the people. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Anytime. There's breaking news almost every week with this project. So I'll keep you in the loop. And when you'd like to have me back on, we will be happy to do so.
Fantastic. And yeah, like I said, guys, we're only just getting bigger, badder, and stronger and more organized. And This is the political season, and every person that wants one of those cushy jobs is smelling with a sense of urgency like they have never had before.
Yeah.
So we're also creating voting blocks. When this many people show up and they want a problem, those people are listening. So it's time to give them something that makes it undeniable to do their job and represent. So
Yes.
some stuff. Thanks so much,
Thank
man.
you.
Have a great evening. All right, guys. That was definitely a drink from the fire hose. There's links to Maggie's platform in the show description, wherever you're tuning in from. Get over and subscribe, even if it's just a free subscription on Substack, guys. Get over there and get plugged in so that we can not lose momentum with the information. We never know who needs it the most right now, and we are seeing communities organizing and looking for materials that they can use, and this is just the beginning of what we're going to be doing. Stay tuned. Oh, and before I forget, tomorrow night, Bankers, Bandits, Bullion, and Bucks with Bryce. The conspiracy whisperer will be joining us again tomorrow night, where we will breaking down the theory from the conspiracy and helping you all learn better things, effective things to do and protect yourself from the insanity that's out there. So that's it for tonight, guys. I love y'all. Stay strong and keep fighting. We got this. The more organized we get, the more afraid they get. And I don't know if you got anybody who's noticed Trudeau's behavior lately, but he is running around like a chicken with his head cut off, absolutely mortified. And this is why. This is exactly why. So tally ho, keep going, and watch for some extracurricular stuff in the next couple of days, too. I'm going to be doing some specials this weekend. So love y'all. Stay strong, and we'll see you tomorrow.